So what I do is a specialty called network spinal analysis. And what that is I'm trained as a chiropractor, but I went back to school, a lot of postgraduate work, to learn a very unique form of healing called network spinal analysis. And what that is, it's a very gentle blend of highly advanced neurological and energy work. Okay? So it's light pressure points. I don't do any bone cracking. Right? It's light pressure points that blends highly advanced neurological and energy work that literally clears out all the stress, tension, distortions, and traumas from the body and mind. Okay? Primarily from the spine and nervous system. Because stress, whether it's physical, chemical, or emotional, right? Stress goes first to the spine and nerves. So you ever notice when people get stressed out, right? Their back and neck can get tight, right? Oh, I'm so stressed out. Well, that happens to everybody, whether you feel it or not. Just so you guys know, there's a bathroom over here, too. Thanks, Alana. Yeah, it's right there. Okay, so stress goes first to the spine and nervous system. All right? And what happens is, as that stress occurs, because we're stronger on one side of the body than the other, as that stress occurs, over time, it pulls unevenly. All right, over time. Now, you're not going to walk around like that, so on the outside you straighten up, but the inside stays twisted. And little by little, over our lifetime, right, it's a slow process, over our lifetime, our physical, chemical, and emotional stresses accumulate in the spine and nervous system first as something called subluxation. Okay, I don't know, anybody hear of that word before, subluxation? Yeah, people, yeah. Right, oh, that again? Right. All right, let me beef it up a little bit here. And so I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this, but so subluxations, right, are, see, these are the nerves. If anybody can see the yellow things coming out of the spine, are the nerves, attaches to the brain, attaches to the spinal cord, attaches to the brain, and then these nerves branch off to reach every cell of the body. Every cell, okay? You get it? Every little microscopic cell has its own little nerve, its own little hookup to the brain. Why? Because the nervous system's job is to bring life and function to every tissue, organ, and cell. How do I know that? Because when are we pronounced clinically dead? Not when the heart stops, when the brain turns off, right? The nurses know, okay? When the brain turns off, right? And what happens when the brain turns off? What happens to your heart? Stops. What happens to your gallbladder? Stops. What happens to your big toe? Stops. What happens to your thinking and your loving and your... Stops. All function. Okay? So the nervous system's job is to bring life and function to every, directly and or indirectly, tissue, organ, and cell. So what happens is, now why stress is so devastating is because when stress starts creating these subluxations and spinal distortions, okay, which then start interfering with the nervous system. Okay, both these peripheral nerves, these nerves that come out here, and also the spinal cord itself. Both. Stress accumulates. I'm just going to repeat myself a little bit more because, you know, new concepts, right? The stress, physical, chemical, emotional, accumulates as distortions that affect the nervous system, the spine and the nerves. So what happens to the spine is that the spine over time starts to degenerate. Okay? If you know anybody who has spinal arthritis, osteoarthritis, right, or spinal degeneration, essentially what it is it's this process of stress accumulating, okay, and what happens is over time, just like two parts of a machine that don't fit correctly, right, if those parts, you know, if one part is out of place, as that machine works, it's going to be a lot more friction, a lot more wear and tear, okay, it wears it out. So the subluxations, right, left a long time, it wears out the joints, the discs, creates weakness in the joints, discs, ligaments, and starts to damage the spine. Kind of like a cavity. If you left it in your tooth, eventually will destroy the tooth and then spread to other teeth. Okay? Same kind of thing. So subluxations, right, the stress that accumulated in the spine and nerves, subluxations start to destroy the spine little by little. And you wonder why, you know, I've always been good, but then one day, I don't know, I turned 30-something, 40-something, and I don't know, I just started to get a little back pain. I don't know, I'm getting old. Okay? No, you're not getting old, okay? You've had stress accumulating for too long. Get the difference? Because we'll take an x-ray, right? And we'll take an x-ray of somebody's spine, and this part of their spine is really damaged and decayed. But this part is clean and beautiful. Same age. Same age, right? Unless you went to the bone store and got a replacement, all right? So what's the difference? The difference is that this bone was holding stress distortions, holding subluxations for many, many years that degenerated that part. You with me? So subluxations destroy the spine, but more importantly than that, it affects the nervous system. Now, as it affects the nervous system, all right, then it could start affecting the organs. And that's how stress can cause things like cancers and heart attacks and all kinds of things because of the effect in the nervous system. I saw a patient actually about 20 years ago in my first office in Queens who he was, I was called in because he couldn't move. Okay, so I did a house call actually, and I still do house calls if I need to. So I went to his house because he couldn't move, and I checked him out, and his history was in his 30s, he got a heart attack. He was a construction guy, okay? And in his 30s, he had a heart attack, and then I think he might have had two. Again, this is 20 years ago. He might have had another one, and then a few years later, he had a stroke, okay, in his early 40s that left him paralyzed in half his body, okay? Then in his 50s, his back went out. Never had spinal pain before. I went and I checked him and stuff, and we identified that the subluxations that he had, okay, which were up and around here, the base of his neck, where his nervous system was being interfered, which was affecting his heart, okay, and the blood supply to his head and everything else, and probably caused a heart attack and a stroke. And that's why doctors was like, you're too young. You know, he didn't have heart disease in his family. What happened? What happened was subluxations were affecting the nervous system, okay? Because, and how do we know, is because as we started clearing the nerve interference, okay, you know, his stroke symptoms started clearing up. Like neurologically, he started feeling better. You know, he'd feel symptoms in his arm again and his heart waking up and changing. You with me? So, and he never had back pain. Okay, he didn't have back pain until he was in his 50s. Because you don't feel it. Subluxations, you don't feel until they get bad, until there's enough damage, and then your body goes, hey, gotta stop. Okay? But unfortunately, like a cavity, right? Same thing. You're getting a hole in your tooth, but you don't feel it till it gets bad, right? You may feel it here and there, but it goes away, you don't pay any attention to it. So same thing with these subluxations. They accumulate silently until there's enough damage that your body says, hey, you gotta take care of it.